South Korea enters the 2026 World Cup as one of Asia's most successful and consistent national teams, qualifying for an impressive 11th consecutive World Cup. Led by Captain Son Heung-min, South Korea arrived with a blend of experience, discipline, and technical quality that has made them a fixture on the global stage. South Korea has a long history of competing with the world's best and consistently advancing from the qualifying campaigns with confidence. As they head into the World Cup in 2026, the expectations are clear. Prove they can once again be a dangerous opponent capable of challenging bigger nations and making a memorable run in the tournament. Guys, before we get to the video, though, make sure you guys give us a like down below if you enjoy the content. Also, guys, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to do a giveaway. If we hit 15,000 subscribers by the World Cup final, we'll be doing a jersey giveaway, maybe even two. So make sure you guys are subscribed if you haven't already and hit that little bell notification so you don't miss any of our videos. So I thought it'd be interesting to bring on my friend Albert to talk about the South Korea group stage, talk about how they've done in their friendlies and kind of preview them before the World Cup. We had Albert on when Son Heung-min signed with LAFC back in August of last year, which was absolutely electric. I mean, that was crazy, Albert. The enthusiasm, all the attention that the club got for him just blew my mind. And that's kind of why we're here today, man, because there's a lot of people that have been brought into MLS, and I have a lot of people that are frequent watchers. So I wanted to preview the national team before the World Cup. But before we get into that, how are we doing, my friend?
Doing good, man. Out here in New York, getting ready for the tournament. There's lots of anticipation. And like you said, I think the fact that Sonny came to North America before the World Cup increased the hype just for the MLS, but also for the tournament. And hopefully we, see exciting games on the pitch. I'm not sure yet because it's a 48-team World Cup. Not the biggest fan of that, but I won't get into that today. But yeah, it should be a good summer. And I think Sonny being here in LA was kind of a good sign, I think, for football in North America. So I'm very excited.
No, me too. Me too. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started into this. So I want to ask you about the coach, right? Hong Myung-bo, okay? There's been a lot of pressure on him. I think the fans have been booing him. And I think I've seen some comments about how I don't think the fans have a lot of confidence in him heading into this World Cup. How much pressure do you think is on him to deliver for the national team? And do the players seem fully behind him, even though the fans aren't?
Well, I think you have to understand the context of being the manager of the Korean national team. The K-League, our domestic league, is improving, but it's nowhere near the level of the J-League or some of the other better leagues in the world. Most Koreans only watch football when the national team is playing, specifically at a World Cup or Asian Cup. So the spotlight on you is intense. It's like being the coach of our version of Barcelona or Real Madrid, right? So I think in terms of Hong Myung-bo, a legendary player. I think Pele named him one of the top 100 living footballers in his list way back in the day. He won the bronze ball at the 2002 World Cup, captained our team to the third place match against Turkey. As a player, he was one of the best. As a manager, his results have been mixed, which is why the fans don't like him. He has won a few domestic titles in Korea in the K-League. But again, coaching the domestic league in Korea is a whole different animal from coaching with the national team. He's already had one stint as manager in 2014 at that World Cup in Brazil, where we got our asses whooped by Algeria 4-2. It was probably one of the worst Korean World Cup games I've seen in a decade from that time. And then, so Hong wasn't popular when he first got the job because there were other foreign candidates who were interested in the position. And the KFA kind of seemingly went with the nepotism hire. Hong has lots of friends within the KFA. He's kind of almost viewed as a puppet for them. And in terms of his tactics, man, I don't know how to describe it, but imagine somebody like in U.S. soccer, I guess Brian McBride all of a sudden becoming a coach just because of who he was as a name, right? I think Hong, he knows the game because he was obviously a great player, but just because you're a great player doesn't mean you're a great manager. His system is usually very typical of basic 4-2-3-1, where he just relies on his star players to get the ball and do something for him. Now he's reverted to a back three system, which kind of doesn't work because most of our top players don't play in that system for their club teams. So, yeah, there's multiple reasons why people don't like him. I think it's his lack of tactical acumen mixed with the fact that he's already had this job and failed before that makes fans really upset about the hire. And I think they have a right to be upset.
You know what's funny, Albert, is I feel like soccer or football more specifically is like the only sport where coaches can get rehired after being fired. There's several coaches. It happens all the time, but no other sport, more specifically in America, do you get a chance to coach a job you got fired from before, which is
Yeah,
insane.
maybe the NHL, but that's also rare too. Yeah.
Very, very rare, right? And we obviously saw Jose Mourinho get a second chance at Madrid, and he had a second chance at Chelsea as well. But he didn't get fired there. But still, he got fired from Madrid. So I want to ask you about, you said the formation or the tactics, the back three. So you said that it doesn't really work. So do you think this is going to kill their attack, or it's going to hurt them in the group by doing this
Oh,
back three?
no, you put it perfectly. It's going to kill the attack because he's playing Son Heung-min as a number 9, and I know he plays in that position for LAFC, but he hasn't been scoring much this season in that position. And I know he's racking up assists, but when you're a player of that status, I think when the goals start drying up, questions start arising about, is he declining? And if we're being honest, Son Heung-min is not the same player that he was at Tottenham. I don't care what the Sony fanboys say. He has declined physically, and that's okay given his age, but he can't play by himself as a 9, especially against our opponents. Listen, we're playing Czechia in the first match. The average height of their center backs are 190 centimeters, 185. That's like what, 6'2", 6'3". Those guys are massive. He's not going to be able to win aerial duels against them. And with the back three system, as it kind of cannibalizes the midfield. You kind of have to only play with a double pivot, and then you play with 3 center backs. And I think it just makes our attack toothless. And I think in an ideal world, we would play with a back 4. If Sonny can't play on the wing, then Sonny should play maybe as a secondary striker behind an actual number 9. I think that would make our attack much more fluid. And yeah, we're seeing this back 3. It hasn't been good. Last warm-up game against El Salvador, we beat them by 1 goal. It's not a good look against a team that isn't close to sniffing a World Cup. And yeah, I am worried about our ability to score because we have players that are good enough to score. The system just ain't it.
So Son Heung-min, let's transition to him. He plays for LAFC, plays in MLS. I keep a very close eye on him, and you mentioned him briefly there just a second ago. I think I don't know what was like going on with him this year. Like, I do think that maybe he might have been injured earlier in the season because he did look a little bit slower, right? But then he started looking like he was like back to his normal self. But I'm sure you watch most of the games too. He doesn't have a lot of service, so I think that kind of impacts his goal scoring ability. But he has been a service provider. I mean, he has like 16 or 17 assists this year, and this is what his 4th World Cup for South Korea, which is crazy to think, right? I mean, it's hard to believe it's already been that many. Um, how big of a difference maker is he still for the national team? I know you talked about him playing in 9, but do you still think he is the most important player for the team?
He is the greatest Korean Asian footballer of all time, but if I'm being honest with your viewers, he is not the most important player in the attack. That's going to be Lee Kang-in of PSG. Listen, Son Heung-min is going to get the attention, but I think the game is going to run through Lee Kang-in. Like you said, he needs service at this point because he's going to play in the middle. We all know strikers can't really do much unless they're Harry Kane who can drop back into midfield. You're going to need the midfielders to get the ball to you. And the one who's going to do that for this team is Lee Kang-in, who, like I said, plays at PSG. Doesn't play much under Luis Enrique, but I really still believe in the talent. He, I think, is actually the most talented Korean footballer we've ever seen. He's not better than Sonny per se, but he's more talented with the ball. Can spray passes all over the pitch. Was the golden ball winner at the U20 World Cup back in 2019 when Korea made it to the final and lost. Has been famous since he was a kid. He appeared on reality TV in Korea when he was really young because he was so good, and then he moved to Spain at a young age to develop. So Lee Kang-in will be the key man in attack, and Son Heung-min will, still be a great contributor. And I'm not saying he's declined or he's washed, but I don't think he's the most important person in this attack right now. If you shut down Lee Kang-in, I think this Korean team is in trouble. If you shut down Sonny, we still have options on the bench in terms of Oh Hyung-gyu, who can come on and play as that number 9. So yeah, I think his role is still important, but I wouldn't say like he's the cog of this attack per se.
Okay, Albert, you seem like a pretty fair guy. Would you feel differently if Sonny was playing like he was at the end of last year, heading into this World Cup, where
Yeah,
he was scoring
maybe.
like 10 goals and like what was it, 7 games, and he had like
Yeah,
10 assists?
yeah, maybe. I mean, because we remember that goal scoring rate was insane, right? He showed up and we're like, oh my God, he's still too good for MLS. He should be in Europe. And then started, going this season. He's not scoring at all. So I think you do make a fair point. I think if he had been scoring at a similar pace to last year, maybe my answer would have been a little different. But it does seem like the legs are not what they once were. And listen, I mean that with all due respect. I don't want the Sonny fanboys to come after me. Like I said, he's the greatest. But if when a scorer stops scoring, there is reason to be concerned. It kind of reminds me almost of Thomas Muller, because I'm a big Bayern fan. I remember he was scoring plenty of goals, and then all of a sudden, a few years into his 30s, he just stopped scoring. And he was still a useful player that provided assists, but the goals weren't there, and he just wasn't the same guy. And maybe Sonny is kind of going down a similar path, but he might make me eat my words and bag 2-3 against the Czechs. So we'll see. But right now, I don't know how many he's going to score at this tournament.
Well, and that was one thing I was nervous about. LAFC has just been a disaster this year. They have not been good. The coaching has been bad, and all the supporting cast around him has been bad. So that's why I kind of want to give him a sort of a free pass. I mean, he's literally, in fact, he has 17 assists this year is a miracle with what he's had around him. So that's why I want to see what he does with the national team and kind of see what the difference is quality wise. Like see what he does when he has a little bit more talent around him. So let me ask you this, Albert. Who are the guys you are most excited about or think could pop off the most for the team this World Cup?
Well, besides the guys I mentioned, Son Heung-min and Lee Kang-in, there's a really good Korean striker named Oh Hyung-gyu who plays in the Turkish Super League for Besiktas. He's had a great season. He's split his time in between the Belgian league and the Turkish league. I think he's a really interesting striker in the sense that he's not a traditional target man, but he's also not really a false nine. He's more of a modern striker who can play with the ball at his feet, but also play with his back to goal a little. In our friendlies in North America back in last year, we had a 2-2 draw against Mexico, and he scored an absolutely wonderful goal in that match. A lot of Korean fans actually would like him to start as the 9, but I think he'll probably start on the bench. But I think if we get to the first, second game and this offense isn't producing much, Oh is a guy who could come on as a sub and maybe make a bit of an impact and become a bigger name for casual footy fans.
So would you say based on like the positionally, or well, I'll just ask you this way, that's someone you expect to pop off. What position group are you most worried about? I mean, I know you mentioned maybe the attack with the formation that they're playing, but would you say like positionally as a group that's what you're most worried about?
I mean, like with most Korean teams, it's probably the fullbacks. I think our specialists fullbacks are very poor. And to be fair, in the modern game, like I think a lot of countries have very like limited fullbacks. Like maybe some of them are good at attacking, but they just can't defend at all, or some can defend, but they can't attack. With us, it's like a very weird mix of guys who either can't defend or just can't cross the ball. So I think that's also part of the reason why Hong is using this back 3, because he knows his wingbacks probably can't be trusted in a back 4 formation. The fullbacks worry me. Also, the midfield worries me. It's going to be a double pivot. We're probably going to play with Hong Myung-bo, who plays over in Feyenoord. He's a very, very good, passer of the ball, but he's a bit limited defensively. We didn't really bring a number 6 to this tournament. I think most likely we'll start Paek Seung-ho, who plays in Birmingham City in the EFL. A very limited player. I think he can hit the ball from distance. He can pass a bit, but under pressure, he's not very good. With the national team, his performances have really, been mostly a series of unfortunate turnovers near the top of his box. So I just think defensively, man, is where we're going to get cooked, because I believe in the talent going forward. It's just at the back, I think we're leaking goals, and I don't know if we actually keep a clean sheet in any of these games.
So I want to ask you about the friendlies, right? They played Trinidad and Tobago, and they played El Salvador. Yeah. Now, the United States, which is a team I support, obviously, we played Germany and we played Senegal, right? So you won both games, right? And you look good, but are you a little disappointed maybe with the quality of teams you guys used to tune up for the World Cup? I mean, it's not really the caliber of teams you're going to need to beat if you want to advance pretty far.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I watched all 4 games that you mentioned, and I think the level of football for the USMNT and their opponents was just on a different level. I think part of the reason Korea didn't have great opponents is because we had to play at elevation. Our base camp this year was in Utah because our matches in Mexico are going to be at high, levels in the air. Yeah. So a lot of teams just didn't want to come to Utah to play those games because they're not playing at elevation. Most of them are playing in the States somewhere, right? So that's part of the reason why we couldn't get a good team. But again, maybe if that was the case, we should have had base camp elsewhere and then risk the elevation. But again, that's an argument. I think I could see both ways. So I see both arguments, but at the same time, I was happy with the 5-0 win over Trinidad because, obviously you put belt to ass against a weak team. Yeah. But then against El Salvador, who are also not a very good team, if we're honest, it was a 1-0 win. And yeah, it's a win, but the way we played, and El Salvador actually threatened a few times and probably should have scored a goal. So,
hey, everyone, quick word from our sponsor, FanDuel. If you're into soccer like I am, you already know how exciting La Liga, the Premier League, and MLS matches can get. With FanDuel, you can make it even more fun by placing bets on your favorite teams and matches across all three leagues. Whether it's a Premier League showdown, a La Liga thriller, or an MLS game with your local club, FanDuel makes it easy and exciting to bet on what you watch. Just remember, you have to be 21 years or older to play. Please bet responsibly and only if you're of legal age and in a state where it's allowed. Download the FanDuel app or head over to fanduel.com, sign up, and get in on the action. Thanks for supporting the channel through FanDuel.
That second game is what really, really worries me. I think when you play against these minnows, even if it is a warm-up game, you should be spanking them. And yeah, even though we won, I'm not feeling especially confident because I think the Mexicans especially look really good recently, and I just don't think we played teams that are going to prepare us for the level of play that we're going to encounter soon.
Well, also too, like you mentioned, the elevation. Elevation is crazy, and it can make a huge difference with these guys. Heavy legs, heavy breathing, completely changes the whole game. And 2 games of playing at that level, you could see affected them, right? Now, do they have to play all? We're going to get to the group stage more specifically, but do they have to play all 3 games in Mexico?
Yeah, all 3 will be in Mexico. 2 are, I believe, in Guadalajara, and the other one's in Monterrey. I don't think the Monterrey elevation is as bad as it is in Guadalajara, but again, it's Mexico in the summer, in that dry, dry heat. It's going to be a tough place to play, and I think that it's going to be a battle. I mean, we saw it at the previous World Cups in '94 in the U.S. and '86 in Mexico. Playing in the Americas is a lot different than playing in Europe. And I think even for Koreans, it could be a rough environment. And I do worry about how some of our guys will handle the heat, especially some of the older players. So, yeah, I would have preferred, honestly, to have our games in the States because the Korean American population is everywhere nowadays. Unfortunately, Shaq kind of screwed us with the draw, but it is what it is at this point.
Right? Yeah, that's funny. No, I mean, if I were a fan of the team, I would have wanted to play just something a little bit better, man. I just feel like that is, like you said, minnows. I mean, that might be even generous calling them minnows. Like just someone a little bit higher quality, just to because now when you play in your group stage, which we'll transition to, when you got to play Czech Republic, you got to play South Africa, and you got to play Mexico. These are a step above of what the team's like, a significant step up. So now we saw them struggle against a team like El Salvador. They play Mexico in Mexico. I mean, that's going to be insane. That's going to be a very, very tough battle. So that begs the question, how do you feel about this group stage for South Korea?
I think if we had a different coach, I would feel very confident. Not topping the group, but I would say second place is something that I would expect. Given the manager, the recent form, the system he's playing, I lean towards maybe a third place finish and limping out as one of the best third place teams. But I think it all really just comes down to that Czechia match because in my view, I think we're losing that Mexico game. It's okay to lose it too. You're losing to the hosts. And then you have to beat South Africa. So it depends on whether you beat the Czechs or whether you tie them. I think losing to the Czechs would be basically a death sentence for us, I think psychologically speaking. The first game at a World Cup means everything, and I think that will really determine our fate. Stylistically speaking, it could be a bit of a tricky matchup. I don't think Czechia is very good, like in terms of the talent they have. They play a bit of a haram system where they just sit back and play for set pieces. But again, they're a lot taller, a lot bigger than us, and we don't really defend set pieces well. So it could be a close game where we're kind of maybe we get a goal, we're ahead by a goal, but then they get a bunch of set pieces and they start threatening. And that's when it's clench your butt time. So I think it's going to be close, man. It's really close.
So the way that the schedule goes is you play Czech Republic first, play Mexico second, and then you play South Africa third. Do you like the way that the schedule fell as far as the order you play the teams?
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. I think ideally we could have played South Africa first, but we also don't play well against African teams historically. Last time we beat an African team at a World Cup was 2006 against Togo. So it was like 20 years ago. We lost to Ghana at the last World Cup. Probably shouldn't have lost to them. So yeah, I think at this point, playing the European team first is probably the best choice because we are comfortable playing against European opposition. We do decent against them in World Cups. Yeah, I think playing Mexico first in Mexico would have been a bit too much psychologically for this team. So I think this is the best possible schedule in terms of the group stage we could have. Yeah.
Okay, so you said that. So remind me again. Did you say you think the best case scenario is second place, and you think worst case scenario would probably be third place? Hopefully, one of the better finishing third place teams.
Oh, worst case scenario is we finish last. I mean,
Do you think that's actual possible? Like, do you think that's realistically possible?
It's very possible, man. This is a tighter group than most people expect. I think after Mexico, which are obviously in a different tier, that's Korea right there, but then right below us are the Czechs and the South Africans. South Africa, I think they have a decent amount of attacking players. They just can't really defend that well. But this is their first World Cup since 2010. You know they're going to be roaring to go. The Czechs also haven't been to a World Cup since 06. And like I said, they're not very talented, but they're going to be very scrappy, and they're not going to beat themselves. At a World Cup, man, it's a tournament. Anything can happen. And like I said, if we play that back three against Czechia, which we probably will, and we give up a set piece goal, then we're scrambling and they're going to park the bus. It could get ugly real fast. And I do worry about this team. And I'm not saying they're going to finish in last for sure, but it wouldn't shock me. Like, given what I've seen from this team in the past 2 years, we haven't had a good run of games since the 2-0 win over the U.S. and the 2-2 draw against Mexico, which is basically a year ago. So it's been a while since we've kind of played as a fluid team, and that worries me.
So as far as the team this year, right? You obviously have, illustrated and laid out your concerns for the club or for the national team, the coaching and some of the players and some of the lineups and stuff. What do you think? You said that you think that they could, second place, but what do you think the best case scenario is for the team throughout the tournament? Like, what is the highest place you think the South Korean team can finish? Everything goes well.
I think the cap is the round of 16, which wouldn't be terrible. I think being one of the best 16 teams in the world is an honor, but given like kind of what we did in the last World Cup, making it to the round of 16, I think ideally most Koreans would have wanted a progression, right? It's like, okay, I made the round of 16 at this World Cup. Maybe in the next one, 4 years on, we make it to a quarterfinal, right? Even though it's hard to make a quarterfinal, I think it's not impossible with the top talent that we have. But yeah, given the manager, man, it's a round of 16 appearance. I personally have us right now getting knocked out in the round of 32 to maybe Canada or another, team we place in that round. So I think round of 16 is probably the limit for this team. And it's a shame because, it'd be nice to go a little deeper because I believe, our knockout stage games would pretty much all be in the States, and it'd be an amazing opportunity for Korean Americans. But right now, I just realistically don't see us making it past the round of 16, if that.
Yeah, and also too, I mean, you mentioned the group stage in the 2022 World Cup. They had Uruguay, Ghana, and Portugal, right? That's a brutal group, right? That's a pretty good group, and they were able to get out of that, which is very, very impressive. So, like, does any part of you think, like, because when you're in the moment, right? We're in the 2026 World Cup mindset. We're obviously a little pessimistic, a little nervous because this is it, right? There's very little room for error. But like, if you're just kind of looking at it from a 30,000-foot perspective, do you think maybe this team is maybe a little better than people are giving credit for? Because that was a pretty impressive group, and I think some people might argue, maybe outside of Son Heung-min, that this team might be as talented, if not more talented, than the 2022 team. Is that not like a lot of people think?
In terms of top end talent, it's more talented. Lee Kang-in is 4 years older and stronger. Kim Min-jae hasn't played well at Bayern, but he's still older and more experienced. So there's an argument that this team is better at the top. It just has a worse manager. So again, that's why, man, so many Koreans are pissed because we know what we have. If we had a proper manager, I think we'd be very confident about our chances. But just because we don't have a steady hand at the wheel, all bets are off right now. We just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I think that's an issue with the United States as well. I'm starting to feel a little bit better about it after our friendlies, but with the competition being so close, like we're used to, except for this South Korea group. The South Korea group in 22 was actually pretty brutal. That's like a group of death almost, right? But in this World Cup, it feels like it's very balanced. Like there's not a lot of high end teams in groups, but the floor is very high. So like you don't really have an off game. You have to be pretty on your, you have to be on your P's and Q's to be able to win each group game. And I understand what you're saying. One slip up, you lose to South Africa. If you lose to the Czech Republic, then there's all this pressure. If they lose to Czech Republic, they're going to have to get a result from Mexico, most likely, whether it's if they want to guarantee, top 2 spot, they're going to have to get at least a draw out of them. And then they're going to have to beat South Africa, which is a tall task to guarantee that. And it puts a lot of pressure on the team.
Yeah. I mean, again, the first match at a World Cup means everything, especially in terms of the GD. If you get blown out in the first game, most teams just never recover. So we got a few days until that first match happens. I'm very nervous and I have no idea what's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let me ask you this: are you planning on going to any games?
No, I will be mostly in the States for the World Cup, but I'll probably be watching with a few friends here in New York. Try to keep my cool as much as I can around the casual fans, but yeah, I mean, part of me is also glad I'm not going because I don't know how I would react in the stadium if I saw some of the things I've seen from this national team. But listen, even though I'm not there in person, I'll be supporting them in spirit. Once the whistle blows, all the stuff I've said about Hong Myung-bo over the years will go out the window. If he does a good job, then I will eat crow and I'll be happy because it means the country has succeeded as well. It's just a matter of finally playing the games and seeing if all the stuff we were talking about and analyzing for all these years was right or wrong. We're about to find out, and I guess that's what makes the World Cup great as well. Is that you just play, right?
Exactly, 100%. Okay, so I want to ask you two fun questions before we end. All right. First one, I'm a USMNT fan, so I want to ask you, what's your World Cup prediction for the USMNT? How far do you think that they're going to make it?
Well, I had a different opinion until I saw the recent friendlies against Germany and Senegal. I think it was very impressive. I think Pochettino has kind of found a system that works. And to be fair, like during his tenure, a lot of the players were injured or not in form, so he never really had his best squad. I think you could absolutely win a round of 16 game and make it to the quarterfinals. I remember my friends Tact and Jack had a video recently where they had Belgium playing the US in the round of 16. If you get maybe like a semi decent European side who's not top tier, you could absolutely beat them, especially at home. So round of 16, I think, is the realistic expectation for American fans, but a quarterfinal is one that you can absolutely dream about if the brackets go your way.
No, I think that's possible. I don't want to like hype myself up and get, let myself down if that doesn't happen. But I'm starting to go in that direction. My last question for you is, who do you think is going to win the World Cup?
Yeah, I think my answer hasn't changed yet. I think Spain probably takes it, and I just do it from a process of elimination. I think Brazil are going to be better than people expect. I just think defensively they're still very flawed. The midfield is a bit slow with Casemiro there, even though he's still a good player. Argentina, listen, top to bottom, an amazing team still, but it's really hard to repeat at a World Cup. There's a reason nobody's done it since the 1960s when Brazil did it. And then the other European nations, I think, have lots of flaws. England, I don't like what I've seen from Thomas Tuchel. The system he set up is just not very good to watch. Their players are not in form. France on paper should win the whole thing, but again, led by Kim Jong Mbappe, I think the locker room will implode. I just don't believe in the French, like their mentality. I've never liked their locker room, and I think it's great they won in 2018. They haven't won since. Most people don't realize that they haven't won a trophy in a while. And then you look at Spain. Obviously, Lamine is probably going to be out for the first two group stage matches, but that could be even better for the kid to get some time to recover. It's not a perfect Spanish team, but they're European champions. They have an amazing midfield that's going to retain the majority of possession. And as long as Lamine is on his game, I just don't think there's anything stopping them from getting that second star. And unfortunately, it might be another era of Spanish dominance that we saw from '08 to 2012. But I mean, listen, their system is amazing and they have great players. So I have to recognize, game is game. So I got Spain winning.
You know what's funny too is the dominant run from '08 to 2012. The best player in the world played in Spain, didn't play for Spain. And he could have played there because he lived there since he was 12. He could have played for the Spanish national team. Messi could have. So people always wondered, man, what would those Spanish national teams look like if they had Lionel Messi also? They probably would have won maybe 2-3 World Cups throughout his career. So now they have a guy who is like Lionel Messi finally. They have that in the Lamine Yamal. So I agree with you. I think they're going to go on an absolutely dominating decade, probably of many, many trophies. They might win 2 Euros. They might win a World Cup or 2 in Lamine Yamal's career. It's going to be interesting to follow. I don't really know who would be a close second because you said, you brought some good points about France being kind of very like on the brink of imploding. They don't have a very strong locker room. So I don't really know who else would be maybe in contention. Like, is there a dark horse? That was another question. Is there a dark horse team? Maybe you think if everything goes well that they could maybe make a run to a World Cup final?
Yeah, I'm not going to say they're going to win it, but I think Norway could surprise some people. I mean, the talent is undeniable, right? With Holland, Odegaard, Asgard. First World Cup since 98. But again, if the brackets break your way, at a World Cup, it's all about the brackets. If your bracket is easy, then you can absolutely make it to a quarterfinal, semifinal. I think Norway is a team that could surprise, and I think it's a small nation, and a lot of small nations, when they get that chance, man, they don't let it go because they know how rare it is, and I think they're a team to watch out for. And I actually have them possibly even beating France in that group stage game. It's one of my wild takes for this World Cup, but I could see them pulling that one out.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting, man. I can't believe it's finally here. But Albert, before I let you go, my friend, can you tell everybody where they can follow you at and where they can get your coverage from?
Yeah, you can follow me on X at Albert_Kim 2022. Also, you can follow me at Ballers, which is the Korean kind of football community I run. It's going to be an X account and also a YouTube channel. We're going to be producing lots of content for the World Cup, not just following Korea, but other national teams across the world. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're excited, and we just can't wait for the tournament to start.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. And I'm going to send you a collab invite so that way people can see your channel down below as well. So listen, I appreciate you taking your time to hop on with me. Good luck to South Korea. Hopefully they're able to make it out of their group with ease, and we'll see how far they can go. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give us a like down below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that little bell notification so you never miss any of our videos. Until next time, guys, I will see you all soon.